Hey everybody, today we are debating whether or not man did and could live alongside dinosaurs, and we're starting right now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Modern Day Debate. I am thrilled that you are here. It is going to be a blast. So the reason that I say that is because we have a brand new guest here. So Bill Morgan has joined us, and we're thrilled. There's an interesting story. If you don't recognize Bill, you might in a second when I tell you where he's from. But just want to mention really quick, we got a few house cleaning things. We also have Standing for Truth helping us moderate. That's how desperate we are. Just kidding. Standing for Truth, you're my boy.
Hey, Jake, that hurts my feelings.
Standing for Truth, honestly, I have to say, I really appreciate Standing for Truth for several reasons. One, he was kind enough to introduce us to Bill Morgan, who's debating tonight. And not only that, but Standing for Truth has always made it. He's been willing to step in and guest moderate when I was traveling, stuff like that. Like, I really appreciate it. So thanks so much for your help, Standing for Truth. And he's
no problem, my pleasure.
Even if you disagree, even if you're like, oh, that's Standing for Truth, it just drives me crazy. He's still, he's pretty well spoken, right? He's at least like a clear speaker, and he's got high energy. So he's not too shabby, right? So with that, I want to say, if this is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we are trying to build an eclectic community of different people from different walks of life, and we are excited to have you here. So thanks for being here. Also want to mention, today was a little bit busy, so I'm putting the links of the debaters in the description right now. And for Bill Morgan, I forgot to ask for your link, so you can shoot that to me whenever. We can do that after the debate, no problem. But just want to mention, before I hand it over to Standing for Truth to explain the format, we have a couple of other really quick things. First, this Friday, RN Raw is going to debate Dr. Trent Doherty, which is going to be a blast. It's going to be intense, crazy. They are going to debate whether or not Christianity is dangerous. Look at Tom. He's so excited. You can see the excitement on his face. He's like, he can just barely take it. So that's going to be an epic debate. Who knows what's going to happen? And we will have Q&A. So I just want to quick mention, if you have a question, feel free to put at Modern Day Debate in the live chat before you start your question. And then I will read that at the end. And thanks so much, Pig Swill Bucket, for the congrats on the 5,000 subscribers. We are so excited because we honestly believe that we have a vision here, and we are marching forward. We are hoping to have fair debates for everybody. And I want to mention really quick, we also are going to continue to do our charity drives at least one time per month. And our next one is this Friday for RN Raw's debate with Dr. Trent Doherty. Last thing, a lot of last things that I'm bringing up, is that we're also excited because if you have a super chat, that allows you to make a comment toward one of the debaters. You don't have to do a super chat. You can just do at Modern Day Debate and ask your question, and we're still going to read them, so it doesn't have to be a super chat. But one thing is, like I said, it allows you to make a comment toward one of the debaters, and the other thing is, if you do a super chat, it automatically goes to the top of the list for the Q&A. So thanks so much. And with that, thanks for being here, everybody. It's been a whole week. Honestly, it's been painful to be gone so long, but I want to say thanks for the debaters, especially for being here. They could have gone to a lot of different channels. There are a lot of channels that love to host debates, and so we just really appreciate that they decided to come here at Modern Day Debate. And so I'm going to hand it off to Standing for Truth, who will give the format. And as mentioned, given that Bill is taking the affirmative, he will start first. The final last thing is I want to mention, we are going to start sprinkling in political debates more often, because some people are like, yeah, change it up a little bit more. We want a little more variety. And I'm like, hey, let's do it. So we're going to still do a lot of does God exist and creationism type debates, but just want to let people know we are also going to start sprinkling in some political type debates, and not just ethical things like abortion, but we're also going to do things like, debates on who they think is going to win the election and why, all that stuff. So Standing for Truth, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate your help. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you, James. I'm really, really excited for this debate. So let's get it started. Thanks so much, Tom and Bill. The format for tonight will be 15-minute openings, followed by 5-minute rebuttals, and then 20 minutes of open discussion. That's my favorite part of any debate. And then followed by 3-minute closings and 20-minute Q&A. So looks like we got Bill starting. I'm going to get the timer here. 15 minutes is starting on Bill's first word. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. This is my first debate on this channel. And my hope is it's two guys that disagree having a good time talking about important stuff. Okay, I'm going to go to my PowerPoint now. I have no idea if it's 15 minutes because I haven't rehearsed it yet. Okay. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, dinosaurs, away we go. Now, dinosaurs, I think, are a very important topic because I've met people whose worldview was changed by dinosaur teaching. I've met people that believed in God, were fellowshipping, that thought it was a challenge to their faith. So it's an important topic, and I'm honored to be here today. Now, my position on this debate is that humans can live with dinosaurs and that they did live at the same time. I see no physical reason to do it. But my buddy Goofy here has a question. I've wondered why people think they couldn't live together, and a lot of them, because they said because dinosaurs are so ferocious. But right now we share the planet with ferocious bears, sharks, lions, and there's really no problem. You just live in a different area. I believe humans have superior intelligence with dinosaurs, and if they were in a bad neighborhood, they would just call Century 21 and move away from them and survive easily. So there's no big problem. Biblically, I am a Christian. The Bible teaches in Genesis 9 that the fear of humans would be put into animals. And I do believe that if you don't mess with animals, you don't mess with their young, 99.999% of the time, they're going to leave you alone and not kill you. Okay? Animals were created originally as vegetarians, not meat eaters. So after the original creation, I believe all land animals were created on the same day. They were created as vegetarians, so they wouldn't look at you as a meal, but maybe as a source of watermelon. Okay? So let's dive into dinosaurs. I have a question that I hope will get discussed. What do you think is the result of intelligent design? A, the skull of the T-Rex. B, the metal stand. C, the skull and the stand. Or D, none of them. During the discussion, I would like to talk to Tom about that, and I'm a friendly guy, and we'll have a good chat about that, hopefully. I believe the skull and the stand are the result of intelligent design. Now, I'm not bragging or boasting. I've been an engineer for over 35 years, and there's nothing I'm more certain of than design in animals and plants and things like that. I've done hundreds and hundreds of designs, and the simplest things in the world take much, much effort to get it right. Every detail, every material, the thickness has to be designed for certain things to work. So I do believe that beautiful skull to the left is the result of design. Now, some people would argue that dinosaurs are the result of time, nature, and chance. And I respect everybody. People can believe what they want, but I question. Time has an IQ of 0. Nature has an IQ of 0. And chance has an IQ of 0. Some complicated math, 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. Can an IQ of 0 make a dinosaur? I argue no. I believe dinosaurs are the result of a designer with an IQ of infinity. I've never met Tom. I don't know his profession. But even if you want to hang a door, that takes intelligent design, research, and knowledge. It doesn't happen by time, nature, and chance. Okay? I believe designs require a designer, and the beautiful dinosaur fossils we find give glory to God. Now, some people might argue that dinosaurs provide evidence that the theory of evolution is true. I argue they don't. There are no transitional forms for dinosaurs. Okay? From what? This is an important question. From what did dinosaurs evolve? I've done a little research. I'm very happy to be here. I've had 2 days notice and I've learned a lot by doing research. I've talked to many, many people about where dinosaurs came from. This is from the Smithsonian Institute of the dinosaur evolution chart. Now, please take note of something. These parallel lines are what's been found. These parallel lines are the creation model. The dinosaurs producing after their kind. The evolution part are the mysterious branches at the bottom, and that is not supported by the fossil evidence. Now you can just say, well, he's a closed-minded creation guy, but if it's not observed, it's not scientific. Science relies on observation. Many evolutionists have had quotes. This is an evolutionist's own word. You don't have to listen to Bill Morgan. From my reading of the fossil record of dinosaurs, there's no direct ancestors have been discovered for any dinosaur species. Alas, my list of dinosaurian ancestors is an empty one. And he attends Johns Hopkins. If I had more time, I could provide many, many more quotes. Dinosaur fossils do exist, and they show stasis. That means they're not changing, and they show sudden appearance. All of a sudden, the screen door opens, boom, there is a fully designed full dinosaur. Now, evolutionists are certain, absolutely certain they evolved from something. We're just looking for the evidence. Well, that's science in reverse. Conclusions should be based on evidence. Conclusions shouldn't be formed and then start looking for your evidence. So, my belief is apes make apes. People make people. Ladybugs make ladybugs, and dinosaurs can only make dinosaurs. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, Bill, that's a religious belief. No, it's not. It's supported by genetics, biochemistry, taxonomy, zoology, paleontology. Your eyeballs support this. Your eyes are a source of science. What you observe, this is what we observe. We do not observe one kind of animal producing another. Let's suppose dinosaurs did evolve over time by chance, okay? See that beautiful image in the lower left? Let's suppose that is a living being and it evolved. I have a very simple question. What evolved first? I've designed a lot of air conditioning systems. You need ductwork, compressors, fans, pumps, piping, power. And as you design and build it, you build it one step at a time. Well, with dinosaurs, if they evolved, what evolved first? Their skeletal system, nervous system, digestive, circulatory, respiratory, immune, muscular. Which one evolved first? Which one evolved last? It's very quaint to philosophically say it evolved by chance over time, but I'm a semi-autistic and I am a mechanical engineer. Tell me the sequence, tell me the mechanism of how this beautiful animal came to be. What evolved first, the hearts or the lungs? That's a fair question to ask and one that people should consider. Now, God does not make things. God makes systems. Systems are made of many, many components that all have to work together for the system to work. Living things are not a car transmission where you can slowly build it together and then you get a transmission. For a living dinosaur to exist, it needs every one of these systems to work. Now, let's have more fun. Is the circulatory system a system? Yes. Is the heart a system? Yes. Is the heart tissue a system? Yes. Are the cells in the tissue a system? Yes. Are the molecules a system? Yes. Are the atoms a system? Yes. What evolved first, electrons, protons, or neutrons? We live in an ecosystem in a solar system. People, systems can't evolve. They have to be, for living things, instantly created. That beautiful dinosaur needed all of those systems working at once, or it's not going to live. Just take a step back and look at that. I couldn't even draw that. God spoke that into existence. That is a fantastic design, and chance could not make it. Chance couldn't make the drawing, much less make the dinosaur. So, evolutionists teach over billions of years bacteria evolved into dinosaurs. John Sanford of Cornell University, he invented the gene gun and knows more about genetics than perhaps anybody. I asked him, I said, John, do you think it's possible that mutations on bacteria could produce a dinosaur? John's response was no. It would be more likely that dinosaurs would evolve into bacteria because of mutations losing information. Evolution is a downhill path, not an uphill path, okay? So if dinosaurs did not have bacterium ancestors, which evolutionists think, and they suddenly appear, when did they appear? I believe thousands of years ago and not 230 million years ago, okay? There's many reasons why, but because of time, I cut it down to two. Two reasons I do not believe dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. Reason number one is a real simple one: erosion. That picture is from one day of flooding in Jordan. This is a planet of erosion and decay. Think about this. According to the evolution model, the most recent dinosaurs got surrounded by sedimentary rock. We'll talk about that in a second. 65 million years ago. And for 65 million years ago, that sedimentary rock, which is the weakest rock around, resisted erosion. Erosion is caused by temperature change, the sun, the wind, cooling, heating, friction. 65 million years. Why aren't we making our streets out of sedimentary rock then if it's so durable? Part of my engineering, sometimes I've designed parking lots. You can't get more than 20 years out of asphalt. How are you going to get 65 million years out of sedimentary rock? And then they think some are 230 million years old. The most important fossil discovery in the past 100 years, most people have never heard of it. And I know all you guys have. Soft tissue and dinosaur fossils, okay? Now in 2005, some Montana State researchers found this in a T-Rex fossil. They claimed it was soft tissue, blood vessels. They reported it. Were other evolutionists happy when these people who were evolutionists, Mary Schweitzer, she came out and said, hey, I found soft tissue in a dinosaur fossil. Were they happy? No, they had a meltdown. I remember this. I followed it quite well. I called evolutionists. I called the Museum of the Rockies, and I called them up. I said, hey, is it soft tissue?
3 minutes.
They said, we're not sure yet.
3 minutes.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I was just telling you. 3 more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, 3 more minutes. Thank you. So the person I talked to, I still remember his name, a very nice guy. His name was Novak. He says, well, we're not sure if it's soft tissue or not. I said, couldn't a police laboratory tell you within an hour? And he laughed and he said, yes, they could, but we can't be too rash. So it wasn't the data, it was the interpretation of the data, whether it was soft tissue or not. Well, finally, so much evidence came out, they've concluded there is soft tissue in dinosaurs, and the Museum of the Rockies even talks about it on their website. So the question is, how could soft tissue be preserved in a fossil that's 68 million years old? Well, when they were resisting it, the evolutionists said, well, it came from another animal. Other evolutionists said, no, it's contamination from bacteria. Well, eventually they've come around and said, well, somehow, amazingly, soft tissue is preserved in a fossil for 68 million years. Never does it seem that they would say, perhaps the fossil isn't that old, okay? Here's an exact quote: undetermined geochemical and environmental factors caused a special fossilization to preserve the fossil to the cellular level. I maintain it still exists because it's not that old, okay? Evolutionists should be open-minded to where the evidence leads, but they should perhaps say maybe that fossil wasn't that old. So once again, I believe it would have eroded and there would not be soft tissue in something that old. Mark Armitage is one of the leading soft tissue dinosaur experts. I asked him if I could mention him. Check out his videos. He's found many, many samples on his own, and he's well documented and published on soft dinosaur research, okay? So real quick, what killed the dinosaurs? Everybody knows it had to be cigarettes, right? But notice T-Rex's arms are too short to light his own cigarette. So anyways, thank you very much. There's many, many theories on dino extinction. There's a good way to earn a PhD. There's many theories, but the evidence teaches something else. We don't know what killed every dinosaur because you need evidence of what killed them. But we do know what killed the dinosaurs that we have found fossils of. They're buried in sedimentary rock. If you are buried in sedimentary rock, you most likely died by getting buried. I was talking to someone once and he says, well, I think dinosaurs died from meteors. Well, why are they found in sedimentary rock? And he paused and he said, well, the meteor caused the flood. The cause of death is rapid burial in sedimentary rock, which is rock deposited by water. So, in closing, I think that's pretty close to 15 minutes. Dinosaurs are evidence of extinction, not evolution. Extinction is the opposite of evolution. Oh, just 10 more seconds, please. Extinction is you start with a lot of animals and you're running out. Evolution is you start with bacterium and it blossoms into many others. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bill. Standing for Truth, I'm going to jump in really quick just because I just remembered something really interesting. I can't help but mention it for those who are like long-term viewers of these creation evolution debates, is that Bill, does anybody recognize Bill? Bill, once you're out of share screen so they can see your face, I'm kind of curious if anybody would happen to recognize you once you're able to click out of the share screen. There you go. Thanks so much. So, does anybody recognize Bill? If you love old-fashioned debates, this is from a debate about 20 years ago. I don't think anybody's going to get it. Let me just quick peek on the live chat really quick. Thanks so much for your opening, Bill. And we're thrilled to have you here, and we're thrilled to have Tom here. Tom, we'll give you like an extra 10, 20 seconds, whatever it is, at the end of the intro if you'd like. And just to keep it balanced, doesn't look like anybody's quite picking it up quite yet in the live chat, so I will just mention it. Does anybody remember the debate between Kent Hovind and Michael Shermer? I think it was it at Berkeley, Bill?
UC Irvine.
Oh, okay, Irvine. Thanks so much. Bill Morgan was the moderator for that debate. Isn't that awesome? Just really cool that Bill Morgan has been in the game for a long time. He has moderated, he's debated, you can tell he's well-spoken, and so I just thought that was cool when I just found that out today. I was like, oh, really? That's funny. Like, I could remember what he looked like just because I remember that debate. That was a big one with Michael Shermer and Kent Hovind. But anyway, so thanks, little trivia for you, but thanks so much again, Bill. We appreciate it. We're glad you're here. Tom, we're glad you're here. Standing for Truth, I'll hand it off to you. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite debates too, Shermer versus Hovind. So anyways, thanks for the opening, Bill. We are now going to you, Tom. Your 15 minutes starts on your first word. Go ahead, man.
All right, so the question is did humans live with dinosaurs? And with the exception of birds, the answer is no. I mean, birds are technically dinosaurs. One of the things that Bill brought up was that dinosaurs only come from dinosaurs, and in evolution, well, that's true. Anything, if you are a child of, or of the lineage of something, you are going to be of that parent clade. And so all dinosaurs' children are going to be dinosaurs, which is why birds are dinosaurs, because that's how evolution works. You don't ever get something from not its kind. It's just an addition to the kind. So humans have only been around for about 200,000 years at maximum. It's estimated from about 100 to 200,000 years. Dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. So the answer, did humans live with dinosaurs? The answer is no. A resounding, obvious no. And we can tell this through geological data, volcanology data, space analysis of time and space, of astronomy, cosmology. Every field of science that has any relation to measure time says, nope, absolutely not. It's completely impossible. If we accept the creation model, it completely refutes pretty much all of science. We just have to get rid of science. We might as well go back and become flat earthers, because that's essentially everything we have to give up to accept the creationism is true. And the reason is we can tell this is because when we're talking about evolution versus creationism, the first thing you need to realize is that debate is not how scientists resolve issues in science. Scientists don't care about debate, because all it is words, and science, not scientific evidence. Science cares about empirical scientific evidence. And nothing my opponent has to say is evidence. It's just an interpretation. He's presenting an interpretation of past and present data, which you can do. There's infinitely many interpretations of past and present data that you can come up with. We could say the whole world was created 5 minutes ago by magical leprechauns, and so nope, humans and dinosaurs didn't live together because everything was created 5 minutes ago by the magical leprechaun. I mean, that's an equally valid interpretation as creationism, saying the world was created 6,000 years ago, or we could say 6,001, or 4,000, or 3,000, or 10,000. We just make up numbers and just say, here is where the world was created, and we can explain everything from this point ad hocly. And every one of those infinitely many possible interpretations can all explain all of the past and present data. So this is why science depends on empirical evidence, because we need some way to filter out the imaginary explanations that we can just make up and say the world was created 6,000 years ago, the world was created 5 minutes ago. And we need to be able to filter out those imaginary explanations to leave whichever one is true. So think about it like this. Imagine we see a cup fall over. What could have caused this to happen? Maybe the wind knocked it over. Maybe someone bumped the table. Maybe it was a mouse or a squirrel or a bird. Maybe someone used psychic powers or magic or a god or a ghost or leprechauns, unicorns, invisible aliens, anything. There are millions of things that could cause this cup to fall over. So we need some way to filter out all of the imaginary ones and leave only the one that's reasonable to believe caused the event to happen. There are infinitely many of these possible alternatives we can just come up with. So we need some way to filter out these imaginary explanations, and the best way to do that is future testable predictions. Because again, every single one of them can explain the past and present data. So for example, if we saw mouse droppings around the cup, I could explain that by saying, clearly a mouse knocked over the cup and left the droppings. But if you wanted to say it wasn't a mouse, you could say anything other than a mouse. You could say, oh, no. The mouse left the droppings, but just walked away and didn't knock over the cup. So you can always explain the data in multiple ways if you're looking at past and present data. But if you have a good explanation, you can project into the future and say, if my explanation is correct, here's something we're going to discover which we don't know yet, and we're going to look in this area and find this to be the case. Now, if your explanation can do that, you have a good explanation. We have reason to believe your explanation is a plausible explanation of the event. Science can do that. Creationism can't. And science can do it reliably, consistently, millions and millions of times, every day, all over the world, for everyone, which is just every scientific paper, that's what they are, is future testable predictions. So science is like, yep, science works, creationism doesn't. There are lots and lots and lots of future testable predictions that have been made by science. Just to list a few, we have Robert Broom predicted that Annamites with double-hinged jaw joints, a transitional between reptile and mammal, would be discovered, and it was discovered with the example of Probagnathus, which is a transitional form. Richard Alexander, after studying the evolution of eusocial insects such as termites, he predicted that we would find some kind of burrowing rodents in the tropics, which might have evolved the same eusocial system, which was later confirmed in the naked mole rat, so more transitional forms. William Bede predicted birds' asymmetrical flight feathers on their front and back legs, as indicated by embryology, which is found in Microraptor, a transitional form. A feather morphotype was predicted due to embryological data was found in dinosaurs such as Euthosaurus, transitional form. It was predicted that if ants evolved into wasps on the evolutionary timescale, an ant with early wasp features must have existed during the Cretaceous, and they found it exactly and only in predicted layers with some really complicated name I can't pronounce. It's Sphincomera or something like that, transitional form. Neil Shubin predicted that the fish-like tetrapod in the Venostrata of Canada, which was discovered in Tiktaalik, exactly where it was predicted to be, in only that layer and no other layers. And it was predicted that marsupial fossils will be found in the Eocene strata of Antarctica because they moved from South America to Australia when they were connected by Antarctica, and there was a big ice sheet there. And those were found. These are all testable future predictions that was made by evolution before we knew them, saying that if we assume evolution is true, and if we assume all the evolutionary stuff, the timescale is correct, here's a prediction we can make, extremely precise predictions we can make, and we will discover them in these extremely precise locations, and they're right after right after right after right after right. So this is massive evidence for evolution. Evolution is the most supported of all of the sciences. It's essentially impossible to refute at this point. It's massively supported. And there are literally thousands of predictions confirmed every year all across the world in every academic paper you can cite. You just go to academic papers for evolutionary journals and you can just pick one. There's another prediction that was confirmed through testing. Creationism has none of these. Not a one. They have nothing. So the only way to overthrow science and evolution is to create a better model. You're going to have to make more successful predictions than science does, which is going to be tough since creationism, as far as I know, has essentially none, and evolution has millions. So it's like if creationism is like arguing that it's impossible to build a rocket, except the rocket's already been built and flying. It's over there. It's called science and evolution. It's working pretty well. So it's kind of a strange argument to come across when creationists say, oh, that's impossible, when it's already happening. It's already been done. So all of the facts that creationists are explaining are essentially looking at past and present data and saying, we can explain this in a different way. Well, I mean, yeah, I grant it. You definitely can. Anyone can. You can explain it in many different ways. But in order to justify that your explanation actually is plausible, you need future testable predictions. You need to predict something we don't yet know that we will see in the future, and we need to discover that. And creationism hasn't done that at all, much less at the level of science. So as I said in the beginning, science doesn't care about debate. The reason is because no combination of words and ideas are evidence. You need future testable predictions in order to be compelling in science. And science and evolution provide that, and creationism don't.
Okay.
I'm done.
Is that it for your opening there, Tom?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Okay, so you gave up roughly 6.5 minutes. We can either throw that into the discussion or the Q&A.
Discussion sounds good.
Okay, so thanks for your opening, Tom. We can jump right into Bill's 5-minute rebuttal. Let me just start the clock.
Can I, 1 sec, I just have to really quick plug something. And don't worry, this won't like cut into your time at all, Bill. I just want to do this because Steve has been super helpful, and I just want to make sure I give him a quick shout out. So if you don't know who Steve McRae is, where have you been? Because Steve McRae is the leader of the Great Debate community. I just want to give a quick shout out because we, like maybe a month or two ago, Steve was like, hey bro, I'd love to, promote you guys, like let people know about your channel, Modern Day Debate. And we were like, hey, that's rad, like we can cross promote. So want to let you know, if you love debates, have to let you know about Steve's channel, the Great Debate community. Also, TJump's channel, lots of debates. Standing for Truth also has some debates. And have to mention, if you guys didn't know, I just want to really put it out there. I am trying to let the audience kind of decide, like, if you guys love debates, we want to let you know wherever they are, and then just have you guys decide, like, oh, hey, like, do I want to watch debates there, yes or no? And the Bible and Beer Consortium, I don't have a picture for them, sorry about that, how embarrassing, but the Bible and Beer Consortium, that's how it's pronounced, I swear, they actually have a great you could say library of debates in which they host people from all different walks of life. They've got people like Matt Dillahunty. They just had Aaron Ra, which, by the way, so Aaron Ra will be here this coming Friday, and I have to say, I met Aaron, and I thought, this is one of the most personable people. And I know Standing for Truth, you have this vendetta with Aaron, but I just have to say it. You got to give credit where it's due. Standing for Truth, you're gonna fall in love with Aaron because he's actually a really pleasant, down-to-earth guy. And so, anyway, just want to let everybody know about that. So now I'm going to switch over to Bill. Thanks so much for your patience, as I just forgot to do that at the beginning. And now, Bill, I'm switching over to your PowerPoint. And Standing for Truth, handing it back over to you. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you there, James. Yeah, Bill, I will start the timer. So you got 5 minutes of rebuttal. I'll start the timer on your first word.
A quick question. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, here comes my first word. Okay, I heard Tom say that he hasn't heard any predictions or empirical evidence. Well, I'm not sure if that's true, but let me be the first creationist to share some predictions for you, Tom. I predict every bird that gives birth tomorrow is going to give birth to a bird. Every reptile to a reptile. Every flea to a flea. Tom, I don't know if you are avoiding the evidence or you just don't like it, but that's what creationists predict. Birds make birds, reptiles make reptiles. Now, I've done a little research on feathered dinosaurs, and Tom made it sound like it's a fact that dinosaurs evolved into birds. Let's take a look. Now, feathered dinosaurs. Hey guys, check this out. Well, that's a kind of freaky dinosaur right there. Very important question though. Tom, I hope you consider this. We might discuss it. Why is the evolution evidence always cartoon drawings and not photographs? I challenge you, if it's so true and so empirical, where are the photographs? Why beautiful drawings, okay? So this is one of many resources on feathered dinosaurs. National Geographic, they don't even question, unearth. It's a bird-like dinosaur. Such detail. A fancy name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. The man who found it said, we believe this dinosaur had feathers from its ancestors. The researchers theorize it may have used its feathers for display or eggs. Well, this man admits to having one small problem. What's the small problem? They found no feather fossils with this. It's all theory. He's theorizing it. He didn't find any feathers, but he did get money and he got published out of it. His own words say it had long arms, bird-like legs, a toothless jaw, probably a beak, but his own words, no clear signs it was feathered. Tom, if you're open-minded, really look for fossilized feathers. You won't find them. There were no fossils found, but he did get published. I know people are motivated to promote their career, but let's be honest here, okay? Now, Alan Fiducia, you've probably heard of him. He's perhaps the leading bird expert, hardcore evolutionist. His words, he found no evidence for the existence of protofeathers and consequently no evidence in support of the follicular theory of the morphogenesis of the feather. Tom, this is an evolutionist saying it. You can heed his words instead of saying it's a slam dunk for reptile to bird evolution. Doris Olson, perhaps America's leading curator bird expert. He's retired now. He wrote a long letter. There's the reference if you want to look at it. Much more information what I have. This is a quote from his letter. Sloan's statements, the guy who said they found fossilized bird feathers. We can now say that birds are theropods just as confidently as we can say humans are mammals. Is not even suggested, much less demonstrated or proven, as reflecting the views of a particular scientist or group of scientists, so that it figures as little more than editorial propagandizing. Tom, the evolution bird experts don't believe it. Check your resources, okay? This melodramatic assertion has already been disproven by recent studies of embryology, comparative morphology, etc. Let's think. Let's put on our thinking caps, okay? Let's think like engineers, not philosophy or history majors, and I'm not putting them down. We're talking about science. If a reptile became a bird, the legs became a wing. The front legs became wings. Significant differences. How are mutations going to turn a leg into a wing? Has anybody ever seen a living animal with half a leg, half a wing? The answer is no. That's lack of empirical evidence. The scales became feathers. Unfortunately, I skipped one. The solid bones became hollow bones. Reptiles have solid bones, birds have hollow bones. Okay, my slides are out of order. That's a zoomed in image of reptile scales and bird feathers. Here's an electron microscope image. Not even close. You really can't get two different animals than a reptile and a bird. Yet evolutionists say, oh, they're related. But not the evolutionists that are in the hard sciences. It's the philosophy evolutionists. Cold-blooded reptiles became warm-blooded birds. Please explain to me the step-by-step mechanism for that. Reptiles have the slowest metabolism among animals. Birds have the highest. These are huge leaps that no one tries to explain how they happen. They say it just so happened. Respiration is my favorite. The respiration reptile, pardon me?
20 seconds.
Oh, two pass became single pass. Reptiles breathe like we do, in and out. The bird respiratory system is amazingly complex. How in the world did they lose their diaphragms, gain air sacs, have a different path of respiration without dying in the process? This is fantasy. The hind feet evolved into perching feet. And how did that happen?
Time.
Complete, and solid bones became hollow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Standing for truth, sorry, it's a habit. I will let you moderate.
No problem. You're doing great, James. Okay, well, thank you for your rebuttal there, Bill. We are now on to Tom's 5-minute rebuttal. Tom, I'll start the clock on your first word. Go ahead.
One sec, Bill. Forgive me.
No problem.
If
Bill's still sharing his screen.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We are switched back over to the dialogue boxes, ready to go.
Tom, on your
All right.
first word, 5 minutes, man.
All right, so just to address the second half of what Bill said, all of those things, those are explained by evolution. It's just that simple. Evolution can explain lots of different changes. It's pretty simple. In the beginning, you asked, is the skull design the stand design, or both? The stand is designed, the skull is not designed. You said there are no transitional forms. Everything that reproduced is a transitional form. So pretty much every fossil we find, the majority of them are transitional forms. You said dinos only create more dinos. Well, yeah, that's true. Because if you're a part of a lineage, you're in the same clade. So yes, that's why birds are dinosaurs. You said not observable, not scientific. Just Google search dinos with feathers. They're all fossilized. There's thousands of examples of fossilized of many different species across the spectrum. They're observable. You can literally just see them. You can see the feathers in the fossils. John Sanford, genetic entropy is not a thing. It's made up. It's rejected by pretty much all serious geneticists. Or at least I think it was genetic entropy. Most of the things John Sanford said are just made up. They're not a part of biology. Erosion can't happen in a curve. So nope, most of the things that we see, like the Grand Canyon, were not created by erosion from a flood. It's not even physically possible because the flood would have to weave in and out of itself. It's literally not physically possible. Soft tissue in Texas, there's actually been a number of soft tissue that has been found in dinosaur fossils, and there's many different ways to preserve soft tissue for millions of years. There's no problem with that. Nothing in evolution says it's literally impossible for soft tissue to preserve for millions of years. So there's no contradiction with evolution there. It's just unlikely. And so the fact that it's happened a few times out of the millions of fossils we found is really not that surprising. You said birds. You said you made a prediction that every bird will make a bird. That's not a novel prediction. Like, I can predict the sun will come up tomorrow. If you're predicting something we already know, it's not a prediction. So you got to come up with some prediction that we don't already know. Predict something we don't know yet that we will know in the future. So if you're predicting birds will make birds, we already know that. Just like we know the sun will come up tomorrow. Not a prediction. I can't say, well, the spaghetti monster is real, and I know this because the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Not evidence. You got to come up with a novel, testable prediction, something we don't know yet. Why drawings, not photographs? There are photographs. We literally have the rocks of the fossils with the feathers. There's no problem there. The fact that we have drawings is because it's more interesting. People like drawings better than photographs of dead things. Reptile wing, significant differences. Again, explained by evolution, no problem there. So that's essentially my rebuttal. I cede the rest of my time to the discussion.
Okay, so is that that's time, Tom?
Yep.
Okay, so that is another 2 minutes going towards the discussion period. So the discussion period is 20 minutes. We've got 6 plus 2, so we can go for 28 minutes. Unless you got something to say, James, I can start the clock at 28 minutes and let them have their discussion.
All set.
Okay. Guys, on your first word, whoever wants to start, the discussion begins.
I got a question. Tom, sorry, I'm a very simple person. I really am. You said, quote, it's explained by evolution. Once you said simple, no explanation needed. And once you said it's explained by evolution, no problem. Please help me. I'm an engineer. I need the mechanism. I just don't need to just say it happened by evolution, no problem. Please tell me how the respiration system of a reptile that uses a bellows 2-pass system evolves into a single pass with air sacs and no diaphragm. Just a step-by-step idea.
Yeah, that would take a long time because it's many millions of steps. What?
Just don't say it happened by evolution, no problem. I do have a problem. I'm an engineer. I need evidence, science. The mechanism.
Right, so the mechanism is evolution. It's random mutation to change the allele frequencies, which can change the physical structure over time. So it's millions and millions of those changes. There's no problem there. It's like saying,
there's no mechanism there.
There's no evolution is the mechanism.
You're saying you're waving your arms and saying it's evolution. Please just give me the mechanism. How does the respiration change? How does a leg become a wing? You just can't say evolution.
random changes in allele frequency in the DNA, which changes the physiological structure of the animal.
Give me the mechanism. Tell me how a solid bone. No, you didn't.
I just
no, you
did.
didn't.
I just
no
did.
specific. Well, we could go back. Yes, I did. You did. But you didn't provide any living evidence, fossil evidence. You said it just happened by evolution. Basically,
right. I just gave you a system that can explain all of the complexity of what you just asked. So here's a system that can do exactly what you just asked. Like, giving you the exact order in which it happened isn't necessary. This system can do it.
Okay, you're saying, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, and it's a friendly discussion, okay? I want to be your buddy, okay? I like friendly discussions. You're saying reptiles evolved into birds. It happened by evolution, no problem. Well, like from the movie Big with Tom Hanks, I don't get it. Why do you believe it? What's the mechanism? What's the in-between? Are there animals with half a leg, half a feather? The circulatory system changes. The respiratory system changes. I need evidence, my friend.
Yeah, all of those things do change. We have tons and tons of evidence, which is pretty much the entire body of all scientific data and all research in every field of serious science right now. Yeah.
Okay, give me your number one specific. You said millions. Number one strongest reason that you believe a reptile could evolve into a bird. Just one.
Observed evolution through change in allele frequency, which causes physiological changes to the structure of the animal.
That's not a reason. Just give me a reason, please.
How is that not a reason? I'm not. So if I said, how did that ocean form, and I said one drop at a time, that's a reason. If you get one drop at a time for a sufficient amount of time, that will sufficiently explain an ocean. So if you have an order of DNA and there are small changes over time, that order of DNA change can explain the new feature. That's literally what it does. That it sufficiently explains the change.
Well, I'm not going to go on the rabbit trail. I want mechanics and evidence, living animals, etc. You're just giving this philosophy like a big umbrella. What's your number one reason? You're saying allele change.
Right.
Where's the data? How do you know it didn't evolve from a spaghetti monster? You have no in-betweens. It's complete philosophy, Tom, unless you can provide empirical evidence. And you were the one saying you want empirical evidence. Where's the empirical evidence of a reptile evolving into a bird?
Right, that's how induction works. So we see the empirical evidence today in modern animals, in modern species, and single-celled organisms. We can see the genetic change in everything living today, and we can watch evolution happen. And then we can infer it with induction, like we do in all of science, into the past. And say, hey, this thing that's working now probably also worked in the past. Just like we see the sun come up today, it probably came up yesterday too, for the same reason.
Are you willing to say, and my goal isn't an inquisition, to say there is no empirical evidence that a reptile evolved into a bird?
No, the empirical evidence is the fossils where we can see the transitional forms from reptiles to birds.
Which fossil?
Archaeopteryx, the Sinoceraptorix, I can just have a list of them here with the pictures. Yeah, you said there was no, why are there no pictures of fossils with birds or fossils with feathers? Right. So I just Googled it and found some, and here's a list of them, and I'm just reading them. They're that simple to find.
My goal isn't to put you on the spot. My goal is truth, and yours is too, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
How in the world does most evolutionists don't believe Archaeopteryx was anything except an extinct bird? Fiducia, Grismek.
That's false. That's false. Well, that's objectively false. The vast majority of biologists accept that yes, it was a bird, like a significant majority.
They do. But just explain to me how a leg becomes a wing. I'm all ears.
The same way all changes happen. So every single species on the planet, every difference from a bacteria to a whale, everything is a different order of the same ATCG DNA structure. Everything, every difference. So if we take the biggest possible difference we can think of, from amoeba to blue whale, they're all just a different combination of the same ATCG. So if you have some mechanism that can randomly change the ATCG and cause things to survive and then change it again and cause them to survive and change it again, you can explain the entire diversity of life from a bacteria to a whale. So explaining the difference between a small leg to a bigger leg is trivial compared to the bigger difference.
Well, right. I want you to go from a solid-boned leg in a cold-blooded animal to a solid feather or a hollow bone feather. I know you're talking about mutation. I know what DNA is. You got a beautiful reptile with a beautiful leg. You're saying it slowly got mutations and changed that leg into a wing?
Right.
I need to have that explained to me. I don't get it, to quote Tom Hanks.
I'm not sure what you don't get. It's pretty simple. Like
Okay.
small changes.
Okay, you got a beautiful reptile with front legs and back legs. Eventually,
Right.
that's the ancestor to a bird with wings, right?
Right.
Explain to me, and I know what a mutation is. How it mutates and it changes a leg into a wing. It's a really simple question. I'm not that smart.
So it gets longer, the density of the bones get thinner, the wings grow, the feathers grow larger, and eventually it becomes useful for new things, which then causes it to accelerate the rate of the mutation, and so it becomes a wing. Like, I don't see the problem here. Small changes cause it to change incrementally, and then eventually it has a new function, and it grows even faster, and then it becomes sufficient for flight.
The problem is your lack of empirical evidence. You're saying a scale became a feather. Do you have any empirical evidence for that? I showed you the electron microscope images. Do you have any empirical evidence?
We can't directly observe evolution from 65 million years ago. We use induction to support that.
Then you're admitting
No.
if you're not observing it, you don't have empirical evidence.
We have
That's what you
empirical
just-
evidence today, because empirical evidence is what we can see with the senses, so we can observe the evolution today and say with induction that it worked in the past. Like, we don't have any empirical evidence that the Earth has been going around the sun for 4 billion years, or for 4 weeks, or for just any amount of arbitrary time. We don't have empirical evidence of the sun going around the Earth in the past, but we assume it has. Like, for example, Pluto. We just discovered Pluto within the past 100 years. We don't have any empirical evidence it's been there for thousands of years, but we assume it has because of induction. That's how science works. We have this induction thing that we can infer that the way it's worked now also applies to the past, and we can use that to explain how reality works.
Okay, I know you want to take me on a rabbit trail to Pluto, but I don't want to go to Pluto. I want to go to the bird. Where is your empirical evidence? And if you don't have it, you admit you don't have any, right? I mean, it's pretty simple.
No, this is pretty
So
simple.
what is it?
I just
Explain it.
explained it to you. It's called induction. Induction is a pretty simple thing in science. It's pretty universal. So induction for Pluto is pretty simple. We discovered Pluto less than 100 years ago. We have no empirical evidence of it existing prior to 100 years ago, but we believe it did exist prior to 100 years ago. And we believe it followed the same pattern it does today before that period. So we use the induction of looking at the empirical evidence today, and then we apply that same process to the past, even if we don't have direct observation of the past. So we see the evolution today and how it works, and we use that same process and apply it to the past.
Okay, once again, I don't want to go to Pluto. I'm trying to get to a bird wing.
That's not.
How
That's
does a
not.
leg-
That's,
You don't want to
that's not
answer
a rabbit
that.
trail.
How does
That's
a
not a
leg
rabbit
become a wing? If
I've
there's
already
empirical
answered.
evidence, just say you
I've already
have
answered.
no evidence for it. We can move on. What?
I've already answered this. It's inductive evidence, the exact same kind we used to say that Pluto existed prior to 100 years ago.
That's
That's
philosophy. I want empirical evidence. How
No,
does a
that's-
leg
that's-
become a wing?
No, that's science. Essentially, what you're asking is, how do you know we weren't created 5 minutes ago? It's the same
didn't
level
ask
of
that.
ridiculousness. That's exactly what you're asking.
No.
You're asking that verbatim, because you're
Okay.
rejecting all of induction. Induction is the thing where we take the processes we can observe and verify today, and we apply them to the past and the future, and we say they work the same way. So we observe directly the evolution in the cell today, and we can watch it happen in different species where they make these changes, and we can say, yes, this same process happened in the past for the things we can't directly observe. That's how induction works. That's
I think-
science.
Well, give me one sec. Bill, forgive me. I don't mean to cut in on you. Just so that, given that there's so many different topics that we can cover from what's been discussed in the debate so far, I know that this is one that you guys disagree on and that you do have a response for, Tom. But and so I hate cutting in. But if there's maybe another thing that came up during the debate, just so we can try to run the gamut as much as we can in terms of covering as many topics as possible.
Okay, and a quick summary. I might be way wrong, but I would like to see the mechanics of how a leg becomes a wing instead of induction and assumption, because he was the one saying we don't have empirical evidence. That's what I'm begging for. Our empirical evidence is a reptile makes a reptile, a bird makes a bird, and if the change doesn't tickle your fancy, it's still a prediction, so you got your prediction. Okay.
Well, I think this is an important point here. So you do realize that indirect observation is empirical, right? The induction is empirical.
indirect observation? That means
Correct.
somebody else is
Indirect-
looking at it?
No, it means we used induction to apply the same kinds of observations today in order to the past, and we can use it. We don't see it directly. Like particles, we don't see them directly. We still have indirect observation of them through computers and things. So
I'm a very simple
Indirect
mechanical
observation-
engineer. Real quick,
Indirect
and I'm not
observation-
being condescending. I'm not being condescending. When I design an air conditioning system for an office, it works or it doesn't work. I can't say, hey, by an induction and by theory, it should be cool in here while the lady is sweating. It works or it doesn't work. That's my semi-autistic state. I'm just looking for evidence. I can't even imagine how a leg can become a wing, and I know it hasn't been seen in nature. And we have billions of birds, billions of reptiles. That's all they're producing. We know too much about genetics. Their genetics are different. Their scales are different. Their circulatory, their respiratory system. It's just quaint to say one evolved into another by induction. I'm just begging for evidence, and I didn't get any. But we can move on.
Well, yeah, you're right. Their genetics are different, which is exactly what I explained. Their genetics change through random mutation. That's why their genetics are different. But you,
Or
like,
they've
using your
all
example,
been different. That's
well,
possible,
no, they
right?
clearly couldn't. No,
Why not?
nope. Because evidence. That's
Why
just like saying, could have the world been created 5 minutes ago? Well, I mean, sure. It's just not supported by anything. But
Why
to use your
couldn't the
example,
bird have been created? Oh, real quick, Tom. Why couldn't the bird have been created with different genetics than the reptile, and that's all they're going to make? Just like those parallel lines in the chart I show. Why can't
because
that
we
be
can see
possible?
genetic mutation. Because we see genetic mutation happen, so it's just not possible.
And what do
We know
mutations
that
do?
genetics do change. They change the DNA of the species.
And what's the result?
New species.
No. Overwhelmingly a loss of the ability to make proteins.
Nope.
John?
That's false.
Benford, well,
Is wrong.
Is you're either, I don't
John
want to say
Sanford-
ignorant or lying, but you are.
Well, no. John
Mutations
Sanford is
are either neutral or lose information.
No, that's false. John Sanford's genetic entropy is completely false and made up. Actually, Standing had a truth with a biologist a few weeks ago who actually explained this to him in detail. Yeah, John Sanford's genetic entropy is completely made up. It's not a serious thing in biology. So, but you made a great example. You said the air conditioner. You said an air conditioner either works or it doesn't work, right?
Right.
No, that's wrong, because there are different kinds of air conditioners. Some work better than others, some work worse than others, some kind of work some of the time, and they can have improvements. They can get better. So there's some that don't work, there's some that work kind of well, there's some that work really well, and there's incremental stages between these things. And the same thing applies to transitioning between a leg and a wing. They can work some of the time, they can work a little bit better than the other one, they can work for some things but not other things. So the transition between a piece of junk that kind of blows air to a complete system air conditioner or an arm to a wing can happen over stages, as long as the one stage is slightly better at something than the other stage.
Okay, I'm glad you said the word system. What system in the dinosaur do you think evolved first? Circulatory or respiratory?
Either could have evolved, because they can both evolve in different stages on different evolutionary paths. So it's either one is
Do
possible.
they need each other?
No.
Does the respiratory system need the circulatory system?
Nope.
What?
There are some
you take
animals, for
biology-
example,
They're symbiotic, my
for like-
friend.
For example,
It's a system.
there are certain kinds of worms that don't have respiratory systems. They do have hearts. There are certain kinds of other animals that can have certain kinds of respiratory systems but don't have hearts. And there are certain kinds of animals that have hearts without respiratory systems. So no, they can evolve separately.
Well, I'm asking about the dinosaur. For the dinosaur, did it get the respiratory or the circulatory system first?
Well, it depends which animal they evolved from. So if they evolved from one that had a heart but didn't have a respiratory system, the heart would have been first. And if they evolved one with a respiratory system without a heart, then the respiratory system evolved first. So either one.
And then-
Either way, it could have gotten dinosaurs.
But it would never make it to reptile because it would die without one, right?
No, you can start with
It wouldn't.
C. elegans or something. You don't need both of those things at the same time for them to work. They can evolve separately.
We're talking reptiles, though.
Right,
Okay,
so reptiles are like the
skeletal
end process of a long series of evolution. So when you start with the evolution, you can have certain kinds of organisms that have one or the other and not both.
Right. Digestive or skeletal, which evolved first?
Same answer. It could have done either one. Started either process, could have come first.
Okay. Immune or nervous system? And you get my point. I get your point, too. And again, I hope we have a friendship and debates like this, but I think you have pure philosophy and no empirical evidence, or else I would have heard some by now. But
Well, philosophy is abstract, like analytic. By definition, the fact that we do observe this stuff in a lab, evolution, and the fact that we do imply it inductively makes it, by definition, empirical and not philosophical. It's literally the definition of the word empirical, observed through the senses. So for it to be purely philosophical, it has to be abstract, like numbers and shapes.
Forgive me for
Sure.
because I definitely enjoy this. I think it's definitely central to the debate. And I also want to mention, I'm curious just to get your guys, both of your opinions on the idea of humans, whether or not they could survive with dinosaurs. And it's true that they could migrate. However, like assuming that there are dangerous dinosaurs, so let's say, I don't know exactly where TRex was, if it's like, let's say North America, and then let's say though you maybe venture down toward like Central America to try to avoid T-Rex, but maybe there's velociraptors down there, something like that. Are you both, Tom, like, are you guys in agreement that kind of like, well, I guess that humans like could survive even if there are dangerous dinosaurs, you could say, in the neighborhood? Or is that a point of contention?
Well, yeah, sure, they could have. It's, as far as I know, it's physically possible for humans to have survived 65 million years ago. The only possible challenge would be like, would the consistency of the oxygen and nitrogen in the air be something that could sustain the human body? And I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm willing to grant it. Yeah, so sure, it's possible humans could physically exist on a planet at the same time as dinosaurs.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I see no reason.
Okay, so
I see no reason.
Gotcha.
The temperature. One interesting thing, and again, not bragging, as an engineer, why land animals can't get too big is heat transfer. Elephants are the biggest land animal, but they cool by their huge ears. They turn them into a cooling mechanism. Whales can get huge because they live in a stable temperature. We have a very delicate temperature to keep life alive, but animals much bigger than an elephant couldn't exist with today's temperature ranges. But creationists typically believe before the flood there was a stable temperature on the entire planet, which Tom mentioned. And again, my goal is not to put anyone on the spot, but Tom, you did mention that there were dinosaurs found in Antarctica, correct?
I don't think I mentioned that. I think I mentioned the fact that there were fossils found because they crossed the Antarctic ice sheet between Australia and some other place that I had written down. Okay. So they crossed where Antarctica used to be, because Antarctica used to be a lot bigger.
Moderator, I'm sorry, I never met the guy. Moderator, James, is it? Could I show some slides real quick?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
About Antarctica? Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
I don't want any dead time, but yep. My pit bull has entered the room. Okay, so, and again, this is a pursuit of truth. I like Tom. And honestly, I learn more from people I disagree with than I agree with. Don't you all agree?
That's true, absolutely.
I'd love to be and I do mean that, Tom. True or false, dinosaur fossils have been found buried in sedimentary rock in mountains of Antarctica.
One sec, Bill.
The answer is
forgive me, Bill. If you wanted to show your PowerPoint, you just need to quick switch into screen share mode. It still shows you.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm a computer
I've got the
Neanderthal.
timer paused for this, so no worries, guys. We're not losing time.
Thank you, guys.
No problemo. Okay, we can. You bet. Now, once you pull up your PowerPoint, we'll be ready to go. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. This is from a different lesson, guys, but that's me last night. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. True or false? Dinosaur fossils have been found buried in sedimentary rock in Antarctica mountains. The answer is true. As an engineer, I like to ask, well, how did that happen? What's the mechanism? Glaciosaurus is the name of that beautiful beast. There it is. Now, what would cause us to find dinosaurs in Antarctica mountains? I'd love to listen to other opinions. This gentleman who researched it said, well, for whatever reason, they were still hanging out in Antarctica. That's not too scientific. But I agree with this. Antarctica would have had to have been warm and wet. I believe before the flood, there was a stable temperature throughout the earth. Mount Kirkpatrick was the soft riverbed. That's the name of the mountain. I believe the Bible has the best explanation for dinosaurs in sedimentary rock on top of a mountain. First, I won't get into all the verses. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6. I believe there was a greenhouse effect by a lot of water in the environment that produced a nice stable temperature. This stable temperature could allow for huge land animals because they didn't either freeze or overheat. That's very important to consider. No matter what you believe, creation, evolution, everyone should agree the environment was a lot different in the past. And I think evolutionists would agree with that. But I think the Bible explains the difference by the water in the original creation. My favorite Psalm, first there was a flood. That's going to bury Glaciosaurus in sedimentary rock. Amazing geology in this verse. After the flood, valleys sank, mountains rose. So you can get a dinosaur in Antarctica by the canopy. You get a flood to bury it, and then the mountain rises up afterwards. And I don't believe it happened millions and millions of years ago because of erosion. But I don't want to take up all of Tom's time.
Well, it
Okay.
wouldn't have been erosion. It would have been tectonic plates that would have shoved it up to create a mountain. But Pangea, all of the land masses on the Earth were connected at one time, 65 million years ago. Antarctica was connected with Australia and South America. So the fact that there were dinosaurs in Antarctica is not really a big surprise there. And the fact that they're on the mountains, again, that would just be tectonic plates creating the mountains. So that there would be not really a big surprise there. Yeah, the flood model is physically impossible. If there was that much water, it wouldn't be. There isn't enough water on the Earth to flood everything on the Earth. And even if there was, it would cause such a sufficient change to the environment that everything would die. It's not even possible to sustain life on the surface of the water, like a family on an ark, if all of the water is out of the air and in like the oceans. Plus, it's not physically possible to do that, considering the evaporation from the sun, which would cause the water to go back into the air as water vapor. So it's not actually physically possible unless magic for that to happen. Since it doesn't make any sense. Sure, go ahead.
Tom, I love your comments. When I became a young, little, eager creationist many years ago, I asked someone, how in the world is the water going to cover Mount Everest? But Psalm 104 teaches at the time of the flood, the mountains weren't that high. You are right. The mountains are too high now to be covered by water. But Psalm 104, my dog's snoring over there. Psalm 104 teaches there was the flood, and then the mountains rose. And I got some great evidence for that if you want to see another PowerPoint. But you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
The mountains weren't high before the flood. On top of Mount Everest is sedimentary rock, limestone. Limestone is mostly composed of coral and other water organisms. Seashells, fossils of sea animals are on top of Mount Everest. Everybody agrees Everest was underwater at one time. Atheist, creationist, etc. We believe, though, it wasn't two continents slowly raising it because the erosion would have eaten it up. But we both agree. Wouldn't you agree that Mount Everest was underwater at one time, Tom? The evidence indicates?
It was made of material that was underwater. I don't know if the mountain itself was ever underwater.
Well, just possible. The top of it. Right.
Right.
And that's fine. My goal isn't to embarrass or anything. But limestone, coral on top of Mount Everest. So everyone agrees that it was underwater, but I believe it was a rapid uplift because of erosion. Limestone isn't very durable. It's not going to last 30 million years. And just asking, and it's not a pop quiz. Are you familiar with Genesis chapter 1, where the Bible says, let the dry land appear and the water gather in one place?
I have read the Bible cover to cover, yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with that verse? Let the water gather in one place.
Sure.
You are? What does that imply?
Yeah, I read what implies whatever you want it to. The Bible's ambiguous. You can interpret it in many different ways.
Well, if the water is gathered in one place, that's teaching Pangea, first page of the Bible. I think it's Genesis 1, verse 8. If the water is gathered in one place, the land is gathered in one place. Do you want me to explain it again? I'll be happy to.
Yeah, go ahead. So does that mean there's no lakes?
It says, let the water gather into one place. Pangea.
So if there's a lake on Pangea, that means the water isn't in one place.
I don't know, but to me, it indicates one big landmass. Obviously, people needed water to survive, but it wasn't as high as after the flood, so it's easily to cover it. And you can roll your eyes. It's okay. You won't hurt my feelings. But read Genesis 1 again. Let the water gather into one place. There's Pangea right there on page 1.
Pangea is the land gathering in one place, not the water gathering in one place. What?
Right. But take a look in your good old Bible. Genesis 1.
Well, no, I know, I'm not questioning that's what it says, but if the land gathers in one place, that's not the same as saying the water gathers in one place. I don't see your connection between those two.
Okay, there's one land mass, there's one water mass.
No,
water's
because
one
there are lakes.
Sure.
It's not like the land just blocked out all the lakes and there's no water anywhere on land and there's just the water in the ocean. Like, no. And there's water vapor, there's water in the air, there's water all over the place, there's water in every part of the planet. The water is never in one place.
And they talk about rivers. You know your Bible, right? You're a Bible scholar. They talked about rivers. It wasn't dry. God didn't say, oops, forgot to give them any potable water.
Right. So when you say the water's gathered in one place, that really doesn't mean anything. Like the water's never gathered in one place. The waters were always everywhere.
Right.
Like, they never stopped being everywhere.
Hey guys, sorry to jump in here. We just got only a few minutes left. And I know, as James was saying earlier, there was a lot of great things brought up about, whether or not dinosaurs and man did coexist. I know Tom said that they could have, but, did they? I know certain things like I think dinosaur soft tissue was brought up, among other things. Did you guys want to spend the last few minutes maybe going as deep as can into that?
Sure. So we only find dinosaur fossils on lower layers. We'll never find them with human fossils. And every single species is only on its particular layer, and there's never any transition between them. So, and it seems to correlate perfectly with the evolutionary model and the 65 million years ago were the dinosaurs. There's no overlap between these. Why would you think that somehow humans, which only appear within the last 200,000 years, somehow existed on the same layer as this species when there's no fossils of them there? Like, how did that happen?
That's a great question. And one nice thing about me, I admit I don't know everything. It would be wonderful to have a human with a collar around a dinosaur. I could say, see, but that's a great question. So anything I would answer would have to be an assumption. But I do believe that the overwhelming majority of fossils were marine organisms. You probably agree with that, which would make sense when, pardon me?
Yeah, sure, because the early ones, most of life started in underwater. Yeah.
They're the most helpless to avoid a burial, because you agreed to become a fossil, they're in sedimentary rock, so they have to get buried, combination of rock with water. I believe the dinosaurs were more unable to escape than the humans, but I do see that as an argument for your case that they didn't exist at the same time. Perhaps other explanations are the humans were able to resist it, or they lived at different places. For example, a question, could they live at the same time? Yeah, and they could also live at the same time at different places.
Where did dinosaurs not live? Like, is there any place on the earth where we haven't found fossils? Like, because as far as I know, they're everywhere. So the idea that somehow every human being everywhere avoided every fossilization event that all the dinosaurs did seems really ridiculous, especially since we have examples of humans doing exactly what the dinosaurs did, like falling into tar traps. Like, we have those kinds of fossils all over the place in the world. So seeing how they wouldn't have done this 65 million years ago or however long ago when the dinosaurs existed, it doesn't make a lot of sense since they do it today. Like, how did they avoid all that pattern? Are they just that smarter than we are today?
Are you saying there's dinosaurs at the La Brea tar pits?
Well, no, I'm saying that humans do stupid things. So the fact that all humans avoided the stupid things that would have gotten them crushed and fossilized is a pretty spectacular claim, since we know they do stupid things today.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I got a great answer to that. I'm willing to do that. And it would be good to every say birds, legs to wings. I don't have a fantastic answer, but I don't. That's a very good comment and question. The beasts, they got buried and washed away. But there are no dinosaur fossils in the La Brea tar pits. I know that for a fact. My friend wrote a book on it. But I believe they lived in different places. The humans might have been more clever to avoid the catastrophe. But I think I wrote it down here. You said Mount Everest wasn't caused by a flood; it was caused by erosion.
No. Tectonic plates.
No, no,
Not
I'm
erosion.
sorry. I'm sorry. Grand Canyon, the Grand Canyon.
Right. Yes.
Because water wouldn't do this. It wouldn't go
Right.
crooked.
If it's just a straight flood, there's no way for it to be diverted into directions like that.
Well, water seeks the lowest energy state, just like people and electrons. If that's the lowest
Right.
energy state, that's where the waters are going to go.
Right. So there'd have to be something to force that to be the lowest energy state, and there isn't.
Exactly. I agree with you. That's how rivers are formed. And if the Grand Canyon was formed by a little water over a long period of time, why don't we have 10,000 Grand Canyons on the planet? We got a lot of rivers. How come they're not the Grand Canyon, but that one is?
For lots of reasons. One, the rivers weren't as populated because of the changes in the environment, because of the frequency of the water, because of the consistency of the material in the Grand Canyon. Lots of reasons.
But we agree with that, the amount of water.
Want to mention a quick one or two things. First is we will do quick closing statements, but also want to say just thanks for being here. I'm excited about one of these super chats, as it's Steven is always a joker. But okay, so if you have any questions, we're gonna have to close the Q&A pretty quick here. So like maybe in a couple of minutes, just to let you know. By close the Q&A, I mean the question intake. So you got a couple of minutes to submit a question that we'll hopefully get to during the Q&A. And Standing for Truth, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, thanks guys for that lively discussion. Very enjoyable, very engaging. So thanks for keeping it fun. We're going to jump right into the closing. Since Bill Morgan, since you started, we will let you start off with your closing there. You got 3 minutes, and I will start on your first word. Go ahead there, Bill.
Well, if my first word isn't my first word, I would sincerely like to thank Tom for the talk. I knew I would learn more from this, and I appreciate it. And I like talking to people who think differently than me. So hopefully those aren't my first words. Let's see. Oh, hang on 1 second. Slide 217. There we go. Okay, ready?
Yes.
How many minutes?
You got 3 minutes, and I can start it right now if you'd like.
Okay, great. My conclusion is this. My conclusion is dinosaurs have always have existed, and now they're extinct. My point being, extinction is the opposite of evolution. Extinction is you run out of organisms. Evolution is new ones appear. This is a planet of extinction, suffering, and death. I believe dinosaurs are the result of amazing design by an amazing designer. I wish we had more time. Tom said he thought the metal stand was the result of design, but not that skull with all the teeth and eye sockets. I think they're both designs, and the dinosaur skull is a much better design. I got ahead of myself. Dinosaurs are evidence of extinction, not evolution. This is a planet of death and suffering, which often leads to people being atheists, and I respect that. I've talked to many atheists about the suffering that goes on. Evolutionists admit they don't know what dinosaurs evolved from. I spent the last 2 days calling people up, trying to get them to. I've called many museums, etc., and I gave the best quote I could find in the presentation. Dinosaurs you find today, it's obvious that they got buried in sedimentary rock from a violent flood. These weren't wimpy animals. It wasn't just a little bit of rain. They could have survived that. These poor suckers got buried by mountains of mud, a violent flood. The reasons I don't think they've been buried for all those years is erosion and soft tissue. Just rub your sneaker on a parking lot and it's going to start crumbling. I went to Bryce Canyon in Utah. The docent said the rocks were 50 million years old. I was rubbing the rock as gently as I would pet a kitten's head, and it was crumbling. I said, "Hey kids, is this rock 50 million years old?" They said, "No, Dad." And Bryce Canyon won't be here in 1,000 years, yet they're saying it's been there for 50 million years. Reptiles do not evolve into birds. The wings, the respiratory system, the skeletal system, the vision, the feet, many, many hurdles that we just can't wave our arms and say evolution did it. It's as simple as that. We need a mechanism. We need evidence. And I didn't even get to this. That's fine. I believe the Bible describes what could be a dinosaur. I try to be fair. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But in Job chapter 40 and 41, there are two animals that are described. A behemoth having a tail like a cedar tree. Many Bible comments say this was a hippopotamus. No, they got a wimpy little tail. This animal had a tail like a cedar tree. Man could not tame it. And the Bible said God told Job to look at it. So I believe the Bible does describe a dinosaur, but if someone disagrees with me, I'm not going to have a stroke and pass out over that. But is that 3 minutes? Just in closing, Tom, ask yourself why you think the metal stand was the result of design and not that complex skull. And the complex skull started as one fertilized egg with the information to make that skull. That's amazing design, my friend.
Time.
Okay.
Thank you so much there, Bill. We now move on to you, Tom, for your 3-minute closing. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right, so just to answer his question, the reason that we think the stand was designed and the skull wasn't was because we have a process by which the stand is made, and we can observe the process, and we have a process by which life forms are made, and we can observe the process. The process which life forms are made is natural, it's evolution. So we have a natural process that explains it, so it's pretty reasonable to conclude it's not designed. So the reason we can trust science and the reason we can trust that dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago and that humans have only been around for 200,000 years is because science makes testable predictions. Science can differentiate itself from all of the different infinitely many interpretations we can make up of how to explain everything. We can always make up explanations to explain all past and present data, but science can go further than that. It's the only one that can. It can make novel, future testable predictions. It can say, if our theory is right, then we will be able to discover these things in the future which we don't know yet. And lo and behold, we discover them again and again and again and again, over and over, all over the world, in every species, in every culture, regardless of past. It works. Creationism doesn't. So when we look at what we have reason to believe in science, we don't have reason to believe in creationism. And so I believe that humans did not live with dinosaurs for the same reason I believe the sun is going to come up tomorrow, for the same reason I believe water is healthy and cigarettes are dangerous and planes fly and computers work, because science. End.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I've got, before we jump right into the Q&A intake is closed. We have a lot of great questions, so thanks everybody for your questions. I've got one here that, standing for truth, I captured it and I didn't get to put it on the list that I just shared with you, so I just want to make sure that I read it because I don't want it to be missed. And then, standing for truth, if you want to take over with the next super chat, which is from J School Account, I just want to make sure that I read this one from Steven Steen. Thanks for your super chat, buddy. And by the way, debaters, thanks so much. We appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate your closing statements. And I totally agree with Bill. Hopefully you can disagree and still be friends. That's the whole point of this channel. And so I really appreciate you saying that, Bill, that it's like, hey, we'll disagree fiercely, but we'll still be friends. So Steven Steen, thanks for your super chat. He said, James got me blocked by Joel Osteen on Twitter. That's true, and it was actually, this is like a story that I love. If you're on Twitter, anybody out there in the live chat, you can find us on Twitter. We're on there at Modern Day Debate is our handle. But it was hilarious because basically trolling, basically making fun of Steven because neither of us are fans of Joel Osteen. I tweeted to Joel Osteen, I said, Joel Osteen, Steven wants to be your new disciple. and Steven put a GIF, like basically expressing his disappointment, and Joel Osteen blocked him. But he didn't block me, which is why I'm like, I think it's especially funny that, I don't know why, but he didn't block me, but Steven is right. I saw the screenshot. Joel Osteen, out of all the people, he got blocked by Joel Osteen. Jeez. Not even, so, standing for truth, thanks so much. You get the next one.
Okay, so the next one would be, I just got the list, the super chat by J School Account.
Yes.
Okay, so J School Account, his super chat is, he says, don't let this debate distract you from the fact that inspiring philosophy absolutely destroyed TJump in a debate. That's his super chat.
That's brutal. Tom, if you want to give a response, you can. If you want to ignore it, you can too. You got somebody who's headhunting you out there.
Yeah, he destroyed me by listing his one cherry-picked authority while I listed the entire consensus of academia. Like, I'm defeated. What can I do? My interpretation, my new interpretation that has no support is somehow evidence.
Tom, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's fine.
Tom's giving you some pushback, J School account. Thanks for your super chat. The next one, Steven Steen. Thank you so much. He actually said in this one, patiently waiting for TJump's clamshell to close one time. Everybody loves that chair that you have, Tom. That's like every single debate, somebody in the live chat's talking about it. And also, Jason, I think it was in the live chat, said, Bill, you have a beautiful home. That honestly, your ceiling there especially looks beautiful. It's you guys both have got some sweet cribs.
Wow. Very blessed.
I need to order me one of those chairs, Tom.
They are nice.
Send me one for Christmas.
Yeah, as soon as you pay me $1,000.
$1,000? Oh, I don't make that kind of money. Are we going on to the next super chat, James?
Yes.
Okay, so I got Mr. Cook Jr. super chat. He says, I'm an air traffic controller, but Bill's rationale is like if he was explaining an AC system to Tom, and Tom was denying everything he was saying. So I guess if the debaters want to respond to that.
I'm not sure I understand the question. One thing I was trying to make is that systems, and I have the greatest job. I love giving air conditioning to people and they get happy, okay? But you got to get everything right. You can't get it 95% right. Hey, I did everything, but I put in the wrong thermostat. People aren't going to be comfortable. And it is so minute compared to a dinosaur, but every part of an air conditioning system has to work or it's going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to achieve your aim. And systems can't evolve. A living system can't evolve. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not. You can't evolve everything except kidneys and be alive. The only way that God could have created, he couldn't have created through evolution, step by step by step. Instant male, instant female. 60,000 miles of blood vessels, the right heart at the right pressure, at the right flow rate. God is the greatest engineer, designer, and artist of all time, and the only way he could have made a living being is instantly, not a step-by-step mechanism. And if God couldn't create through evolution, nature with an IQ of 0 sure couldn't.
Gotcha.
You just Google animals that don't have kidneys. You don't actually need them. There are animals without them.
We're talking about people. You need them. You need 2.
Next.
Actually, you don't. You need 1.
Next. Let's see. Forgive me. Just so we don't get bogged down, I totally understand that you guys are passionate. But question from Praise I Am That I Am. Thanks for your question, Praise. He says, do you believe T-Rexes, this is for Tom, do you believe T-Rexes evolved into a chicken? If so, how can you call creationism mythical?
No, I don't believe T-Rexes evolved into a chicken. The animals, the dinosaurs, the versions of dinosaurs that evolved into birds were smaller and not like T-Rexes or Triceratopses or the bigger ones. So no, I don't believe T-Rexes evolved into chickens, but some dinosaurs did evolve into birds, and those birds were then cultivated into chickens by humans.
Gotcha. Standing for truth.
If many evolutionists disagreed with you, Tom, would you change your mind, or is your mind made up?
Yeah, if they had evidence. Not if they just disagreed, but if they had evidence, yes.
If you want my email, I'll be happy to give it to you. And again, my goal is just to share information because you're teaching me stuff. I mean that. I learn more from you than I'll learn from a fellow believer. Maybe afterwards or now I could give you my email and I'll show you that most evolutionists don't believe in the dinosaur to bird. The Chinese made a lot of money off it, but American
yeah, sure.
American
yeah, sure,
bird
I
experts.
absolutely love that. I really appreciate you coming on too. I did enjoy our conversation, and I would like your email. If you have a study or citation that shows that most evolutionists don't believe that, that would be very interesting to me.
Good. All right.
Okay,
What city do you live in? I'm not going to stalk you, though.
Minneapolis.
What part of Where?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay. My best friend lives in there. I'll hook you guys up. Just kidding.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you guys are bonding nicely. We're going to get on to the next question here. This is what I like to see, guys. So this one, I guess, is another question from Praise I Am That I Am. He asks, giraffes, so this must be for Tom. He asks, giraffes can die when they bend over to drink, but they were designed to not die. How can you say long-necked dinosaurs evolved then? They have a 10 times longer neck. And I read that word for word. Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, giraffes can die if they put their head down for too long because the blood goes to the brain and they can't get it out because of the fourth recurrent laryngeal nerve, which goes all the way up and down their head, which is a bad design, which causes the blood to get caught in their head and to kill them, which the dinosaurs didn't have that problem necessarily. And so they didn't have the same kind of issues that giraffes have. They evolved differently, and so they had different kinds of issues.
Can I reply?
I think just
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Bill.
We'll give you a really quick response, just because we've had a good amount of questions yet, and we're a little bit close to being over time if we have too many cross responses. But go ahead, Bill, if it's a quick one.
I'll be real fast. Blood needs to get to the brain. Dinosaurs were tall. They needed a huge heart. When they bent over, the pressure, the head pressure, not to get engineering on you, would be enormously high, would give them a stroke. I might mispronounce it, so bear with me. They have what's called a meterably, something like that, which kills the pressure when they bend over so they don't blow their brains out. It's not a nerve problem, it's a circulatory problem. And the dinosaurs would have had to have the same mechanism to reduce the blood pressure to their brain when they drank water. Design.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And next up, Landon Freeman. We appreciate your question, Landon. He says, for Tom, humans lived with a variety of extinct dangerous animals like the Apiornis maximus bird. Forgive me if I mispronounce it. He says, if humans lived with these animals, why couldn't they have lived with dinosaurs?
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, it's physically possible that they could have lived with dinosaurs. Like that's not an issue I brought up. That wasn't one of my points. That was something that one of the points Bill brought up.
Gotcha.
I didn't pick the title of the debate, though.
Yes.
Oh, right,
no
right.
problem.
But I never made the arguments that because dinosaurs are dangerous, that dinosaurs would have just eaten all the humans. That was never an argument I made.
Right.
Gotcha. Thanks so much.
Okay, so next question is from Piggle Pig Swill Bucket. Question is for Bill. The feathered tyrannosaur Dylong, I think I said that right, was discovered after being predicted years before. How would creation explain this find? Go ahead, Bill.
They did not find a feathered dinosaur, I would say. I could be wrong. Again, I don't know everything. I did research. I love debating, and I'm always on evolutionist websites to see what they're saying. And if the pig swine guy wants to give me his email, I can send him all kinds of documentation by evolutionists that are not creationists who say they have not found feathered dinosaurs. So if they predicted it, I would say that they're wrong. The people who are finding the feathered dinosaurs are making money off of it. It's not the independent science researchers that are claiming it.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Larry Letts, thanks for your question. He said, I'd like to ask both of the debaters if they know what dinosaurs weren't reptiles.
Do you want to go first, Tom?
No, you go first.
Okay, could you repeat the question then? I didn't understand your second last words.
No problem. It was Larry asks, he said, I'd like to ask both if they know what dinosaurs were not reptiles.
I'm going to guess what he's asking. When I was a little kid, I was told dinosaurs were not reptiles. And then when I got older, I heard that they were. And just yesterday, I called a natural science museum, I've prepared for this debate for 2 days. I know a little bit about dinosaurs, but I'm not a world expert. And they say, this guy said they're 80% sure, he's 80% sure that they are reptiles because of their scales, etc. They assume most soft tissue doesn't reproduce, that they have the characteristics of reptilian eggs. So the consensus seems to be that dinosaurs were reptiles, and I don't know if I answered Larry's question.
Gotcha.
I'll give it a shot. So dinosaurs, also to answer Bill's question, dinosaurs evolved from archosaurs, which are pre-dinosaur lizards, reptiles. So they would probably be a classification of reptile. But at the same time as dinosaurs, there were mammals and non-dinosaurs that were alive, and those weren't reptiles. So I think the dinosaurs, or the things living at the same time of dinosaurs that were mammals, were not reptiles. So those existed at the same time, but weren't dinosaurs. I think that maybe that would answer his question.
Okay, I've got the next question here is from Landon Freeman. This one is for TJump. So he asks, your explanations of how birds evolve through naturalistic means are imprecise, speculative, and unfalsifiable. This leads to my question. What could falsify evolution? Go ahead, Tom.
Rabbits in the Precambrian. Just go with the Richard Dawkins. Rabbits in the Precambrian.
What is an ATC? Okay, here's my email. Whoever Mr. ATC is, my email is billyjack1@hotmail.com. Give me an email and tell me where I lied. I would love to hear from you, my friend. Okay. I want to be accurate. I've made mistakes. Correct me.
Really?
And, I'd be happy to hear where he thinks I'm lying.
You got it.
But you know what?
Give me 1 second. Just the chat didn't hear the question. I'm sorry. I had myself on mute because I've got a little background noise here. Mr. Cook Jr., thanks for your super chat. His super chat was, he said, G-Man is more honest than Bill. I'm just an ATC. So thanks for letting me know in the live chat that I was on mute. I'm getting my own office soon, I promise. So, but Bill, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So my answer didn't go out. I'd be happy to give it again.
No, they got yours. They just weren't able to hear me because I muted myself because I got background noise.
Anyone listening, if I made any mistakes, let me know. I'm happy to hear what they are.
I think ATC is air traffic control.
Oh, that's right. I think you did mention that in an earlier super chat. So thank you for that, Mr. Cook Jr. And Standing for Truth, if you want to continue, we'll go through the rest of the questions that we have so we can get through the whole list. The only thing is, just to kind of move quicker, we'll do the first question from Justin James Howman, and then right after that we'll jump to Iron Charioteer and so on. Cool?
That sounds good to me. So, first question from Justin James Howman. He says to ask Bill, what is it about Australia that is so special that God made marsupials exist there of all places? Go ahead, Bill.
Well, everybody knows Australia are God's chosen people. That's a joke. Thank you very much. I'm 100% a believer in natural selection. Natural selection is an elimination process. If you took a flamingo to Alaska, it's going to freeze to death. That's natural selection. It's not going to evolve into a new animal. I believe that kangaroos, koala bears, etc., are all the product of intelligent, brilliant design. I believe a kangaroo can only make a kangaroo, and a koala can only make a koala. Now we're delving into speculation a little bit, okay? How did they get there and not other animals? I believe that after the flood, there were land bridges and still a Pangea in effect, and that animals migrated, and after the oceans filled, there was an ice age. When the ice glaciers melted, all of a sudden they're like, oh man, we're on an island now. And again, this is speculation, but it makes some sense to me. And after time, those are the animals that survived. And marsupial fossils are found on every continent, but they don't live today on every continent because this is a planet of extinction and elimination, not new animals appearing. So I believe they migrated after the flood and they survived and thrived in Australia, where other animals who migrated there went extinct.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Just to keep moving as quick as I can, I'm going to try to read through this fast. Iron Charioteer, thanks for your question as well. Yes, what caused the iridium and micro diamond layer found around the globe that correlates with the extinction of the dinosaurs? So my guess is that's for you, Bill.
Okay. Many people believe dinosaurs went extinct because of meteor activity, because they're below the Cretaceous, the KAR level, as I recall. This, I took geology a long time ago, but they're below a certain level. They said it came from iridium, but many dinosaur fossils, at my understanding, are not below that, but every dinosaur fossil is in sedimentary rock. So some people think that iridium all came from meteors. I'd be completely guessing if I said I knew for sure. And I'd rather not guess. Something I could look into more. But it's pretty well spread out, pretty well thin, as I understand it. So just from the little I do know, it would be a stretch to think it all came from meteor activity. But it's a good question that I can look into.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we got a question here from Scuba Steve. Thanks for the question. So he says, this question's for Bill. He says, how do you square using the proof that science has found using science, but ignore the second half of what science has found and inserting your own religion? Go ahead, Bill.
Inserting my own religion. Well, I'll start with a big answer, I guess. No matter what you believe, if people agree with Tom or me, we both believe something amazing has happened in the past. Okay? My amazing thing is that there is an intelligence and power with an IQ of infinity that could design every single hair on my pit bull. Every hair on a dog needs DNA programming to tell it's the location, the color, the length, the thickness, the direction. Massive programming goes into every hair of every dog on this planet and all the other mammals as well. So I believe in a spectacular God, and that's a pretty awesome belief. The atheist believes every hair on my dog and the DNA to program it there got by random chance mutation. Okay? So we both in the past have to admit we believe in something spectacular that is outside the realm of observable science. Okay? I'd like to see, again, I didn't get a satisfactory explanation for the evolution of the birds. I got, oh, it's science, it's easily explained. I didn't hear any evidence for that. So I like to start with the science. There's a design. My dog can only make a dog. My dog can only come from a dog. That's called genetics and biochemistry. Mitochondrial DNA. Everybody listening to the show, I hope you Google mitochondrial DNA. Science has confirmed that all humans have the same female ancestor, and they call her mitochondrial Eve. That's science, okay? We all have the same female ancestor. Now I bring in my faith. I don't like the word religion. My faith, my belief that a supernatural God made the female with a male. But you can easily distinguish between the faith and the religion. But I love genetics. I love biochemistry. And the logical conclusion to me invokes a supernatural deity, not a blind faith belief.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, Bill. And then last question, thanks so much. By the way, just want to let everybody know, we mentioned it earlier in the debate. A couple of things, actually. One is I have been delayed today. I usually have a little cheap old laptop that I use that is in the shop. And so I it's been a little bit hard for me to keep up with the live chat, but I think we did get all the questions. And thanks for your patience with the technical difficulties tonight. Also, I'm stoked. We'll have the laptop fixed for this Friday's debate featuring RN Raw. That will be epic with Dr. Trent Doherty. Also, want to mention really quick, the debaters' links will be in the description. That was also a little bit harder because I didn't have that old spare laptop today. And last but not least, that was it. Their links will be in the description. That's Bill's, Tom's, and Even Standing for Truth, as we appreciate. He was the one that actually set this up and introduced us to Bill. We're very pleased to meet you, Bill. And last question. So, Pig Swillbucket, thanks for your question. He said, why are there no crabs in the Precambrian layers? To Bill.
Precambrian layers, not Cambrian. Okay. Again, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but my understanding is there's nothing but single cell or very, very tiny organisms in the Precambrian. And I could be wrong. You can't say, creation is wrong because that old guy with the gray beard got this one wrong, okay? Now, in the Cambrian layer, and I'm not dodging the question, so I don't think they would expect it. The Cambrian layer has 100 phylum. Phylum is a body structure, a means of classifying organisms. Okay, so according to the evolutionists, the most ancient layer, it's 50 phylum in the earliest fossils. Today, there's only 20 phylum. That's my understanding. So, does that show evolution or extinction that we have fewer phylum today than in the supposed ancient fossils? I think an open-minded atheist would look at that and say, that is a planet of extinction, not evolution, that we have fewer phylum today. And if I'm wrong with the 50 and 20, please forgive me, but that's what my understanding is. But we have fewer today, much fewer than in the Precambrian, or the Cambrian layer.
Okay. I think their question was, why are there no, and maybe they had a typo or an autocorrect, but they said, why are there no crabs in the Precambrian layers? Well,
my best answer was my understanding in the Precambrian, there are extremely few fossils. I read an article on it maybe 7 years ago that there were single cell organisms in the Precambrian. But in the Cambrian, they call it the Cambrian explosion. You've all heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
I think the number is 50 different phylum show up instantly, which is a nightmare for the evolutionist. How do you go from 0 to 50 like that? It should be a slow gradual. And we go from 50 to 20 today, which teaches of an instant creation, a flood, and a planet of extinction and death.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. We have to wrap it up just because we're about 30 minutes over. And it has been a lot of great questions, though, that we got to ask. So I appreciate everybody sending in your questions. It's been a blast. We are thrilled about the future, as someone was so kind to congratulate on the 5,000 subscribers. We are so excited, and we have a vision. We are going to, as best as we can, host fair debates. We hope that people can passionately disagree, and at the end of it, say, hey, you know what? We can be friends. Don't worry about it. And last of all, we are excited, as we will do at least once a month. We will continue doing our fundraisers in which 100% of Super Chats will go to a charity, something such as the last one I think was breast cancer or prostate cancer, and then we will continue doing those. So thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. This really is, I can't say thanks enough. The debaters really make the channel, and also you, the audience. All the best ideas have come from you, the audience, in terms of like debate topics, stuff like that. And so just want to say thanks so much. Like, this is the channel is an abstract entity that is owned by you, all of you, and the debaters. So thanks so much. We really appreciate that. And we are so pumped that we are going to start doing some more political debates. So just so you know what's going on, we are not switching into purely political debates. We'll still have like God's existence, creation, evolution. It's just that we are going to start kind of mixing in some politics in there to keep everything fresh and keep some new stuff like that. So Want to thank the debaters one last time. We really appreciate you being here. It's been a total blast. Ooh, Rayrard, you're right. I did miss your question. So sorry about that. Let me see if I can find that really quick. Forgive me, guys. I'm sorry. I just want to... I know I actually took it down. I wrote the question down, but I just want to make sure that I actually ask it because, like I said, it was a little bit hard to get to ask all the questions. Rayrard, if you can ask your question one more time really quick, I will ask it to the debaters. We'll make an exception for this because I missed it, and I'm really sorry about that. But want to mention as well, anything from the debaters, we just appreciate you being here. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and thanks for Bill for coming on. It was an interesting discussion, and I'd like to see his reference where he says that most evolutionists don't believe in dinosaurs or birds were dinosaurs. That's an interesting claim. I'd definitely like to hear.
Good. I'll email you if you give me your email. You can do it offline.
Sure. Right.
Here, my dog was sister. Come here, princess. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Just Google Alan Fiducia, Feduccia, North Carolina State. He's perhaps the top bird evolution guy.
You bet. And then
he hates creation.
You bet. And then standing for truth, any last words? Thanks for setting this, helping us set this up by introducing us to Bill. Also, I will be on vacation. I'm really excited. I'm going to, it's kind of vacation, kind of speaking, in Malaysia, which is going to be a blast. My hope is that either Standing for Truth or maybe even Tom, I don't know, Tom, you could put your link in the description and I could say thanks and we could try to promote your channel. Your debate channel, because Tom, really, if you haven't seen Tom's channel, it's pretty much nothing but debates. And so we might have some guest moderators that will jump in for me while I'm gone for that. I think it's like 10 days. So just want to let people know so that way people know what's going on. I kind of want to keep consistent with everybody's, what's the word? Expectations. So with that, Rayrard, so sorry I missed your question. I shot you a question. I just asked, can you ask it again really quick? Because I'm looking for it. So,
well, I googled what Bill asked, and so what I found was the present scientific consensus is that birds are a group of theropod dinosaurs that originated during the Mesozoic era. So the consensus right now is that birds are dinosaurs.
Wikipedia?
Yep. And when it's referenced, it's got academic reference.
Okay. Well, be careful. I'll be happy to send you.
They got the little numbers with the published papers to them next to them to verify this, which is pretty good. So Wikipedia is pretty reliable on that.
Oh, I love it. I go 100 times a day. But I'll be happy to mail you with the curator of the museum, Alan Fiducia, etc.
Yeah, I'll actually send him an email. I'm going to ask him the question. I'll say, what is the consensus among most scientists? And I'm sure he will answer it very, very willingly.
Copy me. Be happy to. Hey,
thanks so much.
We're all learning process.
I appreciate your guys' diplomacy. And with that, we will say goodbye. Standing for Truth, any last words before we cut out?
No, thanks so much for having me on to co-moderate. Tom, Bill, great debate. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, I got nothing else to say. Just thanks so much. It was fun.
Awesome. So thanks so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody's encouragement. It was a blast. I'm so glad to be here. It was a week without it was honestly, it was like I felt like something, a part of me was missing. So glad to be back. It's been a blast, and we'll be back Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're thinking about going to a schedule of Friday, Saturday nights, and then maybe Sunday afternoons. And I think we're going to go with that like pretty consistently. So with that, thanks for coming by. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable, everybody. Take care.